Life updates, a mixed bag, just like life in general, hey. So here we are again. Feels like not too long ago I had my 2022 half-year update. Now it's time to talk about my 2023 half-year update. Now, we've got a mixed bag here. If you saw my 2023 plans video, some of my plans I made for 2023 have already been derailed, but I will get to those when they become relevant. I will talk about my 5 key areas, my 5 key real-life stat categories, and where they are at. Although everything is a net improvement, as it should be, you should slowly be leveling up regardless, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have some setbacks that have derailed things. I'll talk about how my career is going, in terms of my actual full-time job, my professional designation/license, my job title, and how prestigious my organization is. I will then transition to talking about my money stat, how much this has progressed, aka the pay rises I received for this new financial year, how my spending habits are going, the interest income I have coming in from banks, and stuff like that. Next up will be the aesthetic stat. I'll discuss my gym routine, my diet, my caloric maintenance, my weight, and other factors relating to cosmetics such as Botox, laser hair removal, dental and minoxidil, aka hair loss. Second last is investments, how my swing trading is going, how that options thing I've been talking about for a while is going, how my land/real estate investment is going, that sort of thing. And last, but not least, or maybe least, I don't know, will be my brand/business stat, how my social media accounts are going, how I think the brand name has developed, that sort of thing. Now in the past, I've also talked about 2 other stats, the defense stat and the mental health stat, which is literally in my logo and banner. But I won't talk about defense here since it basically encapsulates your job security/market skills, which is basically covered when you pick a stable/growing career, which I've talked about countless times on this channel, as well as my supermarket job. You know, probably the most stable job in the country outside of nursing and teaching, so it gets covered in your career/money stats. But in a way, it's a good way to look at more perks of being at the supermarket job. Yes, it can get somewhat tiresome during the weekends, having to set an alarm for Saturday morning, having to get home at a time where you're normally all wound down for bed on a Sunday night, but at the very least, you have an extremely stable income source. I'd rather have those minor weekend inconveniences than having money problems. As for mental health, I will actually touch on this near the end, but it's not like there's a whole lot of progress I can talk about on this, since mine took some work to get to this point, but it's not like I was in a dark place a year ago and am slowly getting out of it. I've been chilling for a while. There will be more focus on the other 5 stats since those can fluctuate a lot and they have much more room to progress upwards than my mental health, if that makes sense. Like, what else can I do for mental health? Like, meditate? I'm more than fine. My mental health in a way is tied to my other stats anyway. A lot of people don't attribute their worth to their accomplishments, which is totally how it should be. But for me, I've morphed into a way where my happiness is tied to my achievements. It gives me purpose. So, enough preamble, let's begin the updates. Career. So, for this stat, there's 4 categories I want to go over. Occupation/industry, which refers to what you'd answer when someone asks you what you do for a living. Example in my case, accounting/accountant. Professional designations, this refers to any upskilling involved in your job. You see it in the police force, you have like constable, senior constable, stuff like that. You rise the ranks, but in a sense you get a designation tied to your name. This isn't like associate, manager, senior manager, or anything like that. When referring to someone in the police force, you'd say, Senior Constable John Jones. You wouldn't call them John Jones. In the army, you'd say Lance Corporal Lance the Salamance. You wouldn't call them Lance the Salamance. However, you wouldn't talk to a manager and call them Senior Manager Kerry Smith. You just call them Kerry Smith, if that makes sense. For accounting, we have a professional designation of CPA. So whenever someone says my name after I get the license in a professional sense, they'd say Gamification of Life, CPA. If I was in the army, I'd have Lance Corporal Gamification of Life. But if I was a manager at the supermarket, I wouldn't be called Manager Gamification of Life. So that's what professional designation refers to. Job title. Now, this is where you'd say stuff like Senior Manager. I am Senior Manager at XYZ Company. My job title is currently assistant accountant. It'll be company accountant soon enough, but assistant accountant or company accountant isn't my professional designation. You wouldn't refer to me in a professional sense, like on LinkedIn, for example, as assistant accountant gamification of life. You would, however, say gamification of life CPA. Prestige. This one is important to some people, and I understand it can feel fancy, and it does matter to other employers and your resume, so it is important. So I'll also go over this. There's a big difference between being a software engineer for Google as opposed to being a software engineer for John Frank's Computer Solutions. One of these companies is more respected than the other. So occupation/industry, nothing's changed here, obviously. Still in the accounting industry. As for my progress towards my designation, since my last life update, I technically haven't gotten anywhere, since I'm still on 4 out of 6 subjects passed, given that I failed this last subject. However, I did learn a lot, and I have a new way of studying, and I am most likely going to enroll in tutoring for this upcoming semester. I am quite keen for this. It'll be a good stat upgrade and will help my skills as an accountant overall, since I'll have that knowledge ingrained into my brain, more so than if I was just to do my own study at my own leisure. I still have some notes from the last semester of study, so at least I don't have to start from scratch. Job title. Currently assistant accountant. It will become company accountant soon. I am about to receive a pay rise at the time of writing this script. Not sure if I would have already received it by the time you're watching this, but I also have another pay rise to be set in motion. And I know that pay rise will come with a job title change, but unsure if this current pay rise comes with one. Prestige. The company I work for is a small business. There are like several $1 million in turnover per year, which is still the definition of a small business, but the business doesn't seem that small to me. Regardless, it's not a large prestigious company, which can matter for resume credit as mentioned before. So working for a more prestigious company would bump up the career stat in this respect. But I've mentioned before, I don't maximize one stat at the expense of others. I could increase the career stat by going elsewhere, but this would come at the cost of my other stats. Example, this job is low stress and makes it easy for me to do my CPA studies, as well as gym. If I worked for a full-on organization that requires some overtime and is stressful, I'd struggle to get in my gym sessions and study for my CPA. So career prestige is up, but professional designation and aesthetics are down. So in a way, I guess staying here actually bumps up the career stat since it helps me get my professional designation. Money. I've already made an entire video on the update to my money stat, but in summary, I'm receiving a 17% raise from the office and a 5.5% raise at the supermarket, resulting in a $10,000 per annum increase at the office and a $1,500 per annum increase at the supermarket. This is gross too, so it's not even counting the extra bump in my superannuation rate. Depending on how you want to look at it, I'll be on either $98,500, $108,000 or $110,000-ish next financial year. Check out that video if that doesn't make sense to you, but I'm going to say I'll be on basically $110,000 next financial year. What I didn't talk about in that video was my expenses. These are all my constant expenses, or investments into me, however you want to look at it. I don't have things like buying CBD gummies, protein powders, paying for stuff for my brand, etc., since those are sporadic and I have no idea when I'll be paying for them. However, I know when these pop up. So it's calculated on a weekly amount, however some are paid monthly or even quarterly, so I've just divided those figures by an amount that equates to a weekly amount. Example, the Google storage is about $24.99 every 6 months, so that works out to be around $1.04 a week. So the biggest expense is fuel. It costs me around $80 to $90 each week, maybe more, rarely less. Just depends on oil prices. At the time of recording, oil's price in the stock market was getting cheaper, but it seems OPEC, more specifically Saudi Arabia, is looking at cutting oil supply, which would increase its price. Regardless, usually petrol is my biggest expense/investment. I need it to get to my job, which increases my career stat, so I guess it could be counted as an investment into the career stat. Next is groceries. It's roughly $80 a week. Some shops are less. Sometimes I bulk buy a lot of stuff when it's cheap, such as dark chocolate as mentioned in my 4 meals video, or even sweet potato. At the time of writing this script, sweet potato is $2.50 a kilo. It's usually $4.50 a kilo. So I'll be bulk buying and cooking that this week. But it's usually about $80 a week on average. If I didn't have a gym diet, this could be way cheaper. But as mentioned in the career section, don't compromise other stats just to slightly increase another stat. Have balance. If I cut my grocery bill down to $30 to $40 a week, but that means I can't get enough protein/vitamins and minerals in to sustain my aesthetic stat, then I've culled that stat to slightly increase money. Not worth it for me. Money comes and goes. The gym membership fee has stayed the same since I signed up in late 2020. I'm surprised this hasn't gone up. Watch me jinx this, and by the time this video gets uploaded, there will be a notification of a pay increase for my gym membership. I could cut this by working out from home, but my home gym doesn't have quite the equipment that the gym does. It's just better to have a gym membership. Given my new program is a lot less reliant on barbell movements and more focused on dumbbells and machines, but I can talk about that in the aesthetics section. The CGs count for cute girls. I talked about how not to be down bad in a recent video, but the fact is, gym girls in the gym increase your energy levels. You cannot tell me otherwise. I literally get a boost of energy whenever there is a hot girl in the gym, which is something my home gym doesn't have. So long story short, this gym expense/investment could be cut, but it's not ideal for my overall aesthetic stat. Plus, I've made a few friends in the gym recently, so it's good for the mental health stat too, the social interactions. I catch people looking at me in the gym from time to time, boys and girls. It's quite flattering. I know for a fact that some of them watch me perform some exercises too, since I've had someone from work tell me how crazy it is that I can do weighted pull-ups with 30 plus kilos attached when she couldn't do one. And she also said other people in the gym were looking too and were like, wow, that's crazy. I had suspicions that people stared when I did that, since one of my new gym mates told me a while ago that he's like, the weighted pull-up stuff is crazy, but I didn't know it was like half the gym, probably even more, so that stuff is flattering. I've also had those sort of comments regarding to my barbell hip thrusts because my current top set is about 190 kilos for 5, approaching 6 reps, which is pretty nuts for someone like me, aka I'm lean, which means I'm weaker than the fatter guys, and who isn't too focused on strength, since I only train legs 1 time a week. I talked about how I was supposed to have hip thrusts in my Saturday gym sessions too in this video, but I've modified my Saturday session to a point where it's impractical to do hip thrusts in that workout too, since I'm already tired enough come Saturday night, and that session is quite full on with a volume. So yeah, 190 kilo hip thrusts for 5 reps ain't bad for a leaner, less serious lifter like me. All that is to say, there's benefits to a gym membership that you don't get from working out at home. Of course, it's annoying when some cunts use the equipment that you want to use, and they just sit there on their phone like a dumbass, but you can't win them all. YouTube Premium costs me maybe $3 a month, max. Usually it's less than this. It's cheap because I used a VPN. I won't mention the name since I'm not being paid for any sponsorships. I mentioned a list of sponsorships I'd take in this video here, so I won't mention a VPN until they sponsor me. If they sponsor me. Please sponsor me. So I used that VPN, I paid for 2 years up front. The ads talk about how it only costs so much to use each month, but you gotta pay up front. So I paid for 2 years. And what I did was, I rerouted to Argentina and paid for YouTube Premium there. You pick Argentina since their inflation is nuts, so $14.99 in Argentina is like way cheaper in the Aussie dollar. So that's why you pick them. Turkey also has bad inflation, but I'm not sure if that rerouting thing works there. Either way, my VPN subscription has ended. I'm not renewing since I don't need it, but my direct debit still goes through Argentina. So for the rest of the time I have YouTube Premium, which will be forever, it will be billed through Argentina. If Argentina fixes its inflation issue, then I may look at changing, but until then, I'll enjoy this 75 cents per week YouTube Premium subscription. And doing this saves me $3 a week on that same subscription. Where, like, if I paid for it in normal Aussie dollars, I'd be paying like an extra $3 a week for it. Spotify costs me $5.99 a month. It was costing like $11.99 a month since I got it back in the middle of 2019. I didn't realize being a CPA student classified as being a student in the eyes of Spotify. I only found this out via a Facebook group post from another fellow student, so I was paying an extra almost $6 a month since the start of 2021 when I didn't need to. Similar with my phone bill. Actually, nice transition. I was paying $123 a month for my two phones, but majority of that, like $69 for the Samsung SIM and $19 was for some device protection. Well, they were from my Samsung, which had like 130 gigabytes of data. At the time I got this phone back in 2019, it was a good ass deal having this plan paying off the phone alongside all that data, but now it's just unnecessary. The most I use is like 30 gigabytes a month according to my phone bill records. So I can't believe it's taken me this long and I didn't think of this earlier. I was doing this at work the other week while waiting for some bank report or something, I can't remember. But yeah, I've been overpaying since the phone was paid off, which was like in the middle of 2021. My new phone bill should be around $29 a month for the iPhone and around $12.50 for the new SIM, which I'll use for my Samsung. Well, it's $12.50 a month for 6 months anyway, since I'm a new member. There are plenty of promos like this though, so at the end of that little trial, it'll go back up to $25 a month. But instead of going to $25 a month for that SIM, I can just cancel since there's no lock-in contract, and then just get a new provider. There's so many, I could literally do this on repeat for several years. It's a little bit of administrative work, but it can't be any more than an hour just to cancel your current provider and get a new one. Cancelling my current expensive SIM from Optus took a while, but that's because there was some other stuff we chatted about, and they needed ID verification to cancel it, which was a pain since the system couldn't recognize my driver's license. But that's not important. The point is, it's probably worth the time to keep switching this SIM. Adobe Premiere Pro, I paid off for a full year due to the discount you get for paying a yearly amount instead of a monthly amount. Works out to be around $7.15 a week. I suppose this doesn't belong here since I didn't add in like my registration or car insurance here, but I've added this in already. Plus, I know the cost of this, whereas I don't know how much my registration and insurance would have increased by. I guess I could have used the figures from earlier this year, but you know, it's not important. I also pay for Apple and Google storage, works out to be a little over $1 a week, but I pay Apple quarterly and I pay Google twice a year, I'm pretty sure. I have too many memes, screen recordings, etc. on my phone that I can't fit it on without the extra storage. Usually I just copy across my phone stuff every few months, but since I'm quite flat out, I can't get this all done, especially now that the CPA semester is beginning. And I still want to grow this brand. I guess I could download some iCloud stuff slowly and move it across to the hard drive without doing that stuff, but when I do that, it kind of slows down the functioning of my laptop, and Adobe Premiere Pro already does that enough. But this expense/investment won't be around forever. Lastly, I pay $14.99 a month for a membership to the Maverick of Wall Street to get access to his membership exclusive videos. I'm thinking of cancelling this, since although he does have good trading ideas and I like his stuff, he does give some free videos out, and I found other channels that have good technical info for free. Plus, I'm not as fussed about the investor stat lately, but I'll touch on that in its appropriate section. So yeah, aside from random shit like paying for stuff for this brand, protein powders, CBD gummies, car stuff, etc., I'm paying around $214 a week to sustain my current life. I have no rent, as I live rent-free with my parents. However, this comes at the cost of being far away from everything, as I live in the middle of nowhere, as mentioned on this channel before. Not bad, seeing as though I'll be making around $1,884 gross before tax a week in this next coming financial year. I'm going to try and get work to pay for my fuel, but although my fuel costs are the result of living with my parents, it's way cheaper than any rent payments here. However, there is a lost opportunity cost with time. If I lived closer to everything, I'd have roughly an extra hour in each weekday. I can do a lot in this time, so I'm also paying for that. No one has a perfect situation, pros and cons. I have no rent, but I pay a lot in terms of time. Some people pay rent, but they don't have to spend 2+ hours each weekday on the way to work. Lastly, interest income from the banks. At the time of writing, the Bank of Queensland and ING are both offering 5.50% savings rates, which is a crazy amount of savings. There are some conditions to meet. ING has the most lax conditions. Yahoo Finance had an article about this a while ago, basically spelling out the best savings rates across the country, since the Big Four are offering trash rates except for Westpac, but I found these earlier by doing a simple internet search. So the interest income recently has paid upwards of $280 a month, and this will only increase with the rates rising and the balance growing. I will probably owe around $10,000 this year on tax due to the way I get paid from my supermarket and my HEX repayment, aka my student debt, and unfortunately, even though I am an accountant, there isn't much I can do about this, at this stage anyway. I could do some magic if I had a business that generated revenue, so the sooner I get this brand monetized, the sooner I can help cull my tax bills. I'm fairly certain there is something you can do in regards to starting a business before it generates income, since I talked with an accountant in 2019 doing the same thing with my old personal training business, but I believe the extent of it involves just carrying forward tax losses. I can't use them to offset my personal tax bill unless I meet some conditions, which involve having assets in the business or generating income of more than $20,000 a year, or being profitable in 3 of the last 5 years, none of which apply to me. There could also be something else, but honestly, it's not worth the hassle. There wouldn't be much I could do, and if the ATO comes knocking, I'll need to spend time defending myself, which takes away from my studies, gym, brand, etc. So I'll just cop the tax bill. Now back to the point. I will need to drain $10,000 from these bank accounts just to pay my tax bill, but that's due in late October. By then, whatever extra I've added to the bank accounts will be drained back out, so essentially, I probably won't earn any less than $280 a month from the banks, rates will go up, and even when I pay my tax bill, I would still have another 3-ish months of savings, which include my new pay raises, that can be paid out to this $10,000 amount. So that's a wrap for the money section. Aesthetics. So out of all of my stats, this is probably the best of the lot. You could argue money has the greatest increase, but the reason I think this is the best stat this year is because I'm still lean and I'm fairly sure this is the biggest I've ever been, including my uni days. The added volume and calorie surplus is doing wonders. It's hard to check since strength is not a totally accurate indicator of size. I am way weaker due to my more full-on routine. Plus, I don't even do the big 3 of squats, bench and deadlifts anymore. I still do stiff-legged deadlifts, not sumo. I do flat dumbbell press and incline Smith machine bench, not flat barbell bench. I do hack squats and leg press, not the conventional barbell back squat. So I still do a hip hinge, a horizontal press and a leg press movement, but not the big 3. As for picks, I don't have lighting as good as the ones in my old gym because they made me look leaner and more tan. The lighting in this current gym is pretty good for the arm flexors, but the ab picks aren't as good here. So I'll go over my current routine. Here is my Tuesday session. There is a lot more volume than I did in the past, namely due to replacing bench press sets with more sets of machines and cables and whatnot. I got this idea from the gym session I had with a mate who was on gear. I talked about that in this video here. The workout was the night prior to this Saturday in the life, but basically, I had backed off on the volume in the past couple of years to conserve energy for my other stats, since I was like, if I do more in the gym, I'll be too drained. But after conversing with that mate, and from what his other mates have said, I realized that more volume wouldn't completely ruin me if they were from machines and whatnot. Plus, in my uni days, at my biggest, or at my former biggest size, one of the factors I had in my routine was high volume. So ever since that workout, I've changed my routine to incorporate more volume from machines. I have a hanging leg raise variant in 3 out of my 4 workouts because this routine was made during a cut I was doing, and although I'm back to bulking, having this advanced ab movement at the start will help my ab development and also helps me avoid skipping them at the end of the session when I'm exhausted, like I've always done in the past. So this Tuesday workout takes slightly less than 2 hours. Sometimes the order gets switched up because some people want to use the Smith machine, some people want to use the rope, some people want to use the chest press, but usually it takes 2 hours. As for the Wednesday session, starting off with a hanging leg movement, then the hip hinge movement, then the big movement, the barbell hip thrusts. Then after that, I have hack squats and then my leg press movement, my 2 leg pressing movements instead of the barbell back squats I once did. I can get through all 6 of these sets in the time it takes me to warm up and get through 3 sets of barbell back squats. So this is what I mean when I say I've ditched the big 3 for more volume. Instead of taking more time to warm up for those, I just do more sets on the machines instead. Yes, you don't get recruitment from the stabilizers, but at least I'm getting more volume for the muscle groups in focus. This workout also takes a little less than 2 hours. Thursday is arms, with some upper towards the end. This is by far my easiest session. The hardest part is probably the rope upright rows at the start of the session and the machine rows, since by then I am fried, coming off 3 consecutive gym sessions alongside work after all that. As in, like, by the time I get to the machine rows, I pretty much had 3 gym sessions, you know what I mean? Saturday is my highest volume session, but that's since most of it involves drop sets with machines. I have this on Saturday because 1, that's just how it fell into place. I modified my old Saturday workout and this is just what it is. But 2, since this has a heavy machine focus, if a machine is taken, there's not much I can do to modify the workout. When I have more dumbbell movements, it's easy to modify the session, or if I'm doing legs, surely not all the machines I need are taken, so I can just switch up the order. Like that happens a lot with the leg extension. Sometimes I'll need to use it, but I'll just do the cable hamstring curls and the cable reverse crunches and then go into the leg extensions. However, if the Smith machine and chest press are taken and the rope is taken, there isn't a whole lot I can do, since I'd rather not have my back movements or my tricep movements earlier in the workout, since my preference is to get the chest and shoulders done earlier. My triceps do need work, but they're less important, and my back doesn't really need any more focus than it already has. It's easily my strongest part. So the point is, my heavy machine day is the day where the gym is the most empty. It's hit and miss. Some days there's no one, most days there's 2 to 3 people. The other day I saw maybe 5 to 6 people in the gym, putting in that Saturday night work. I do like it, and most times they don't usually need the machines I want to use. So that's where I'm at with my workouts. Seems to be working out pretty well, pun intended. So as for my diet, I basically still eat what I outlined in the 4 meals video, but instead I have full fat beef over kangaroo, and I have about 200 grams of white potatoes alongside my tuna meal. The reason for the potatoes is extra calories and extra potassium. It's also easy to cook. Just put it in a boiling pot for 30 minutes, let it cool, split it into Ziploc bags and save for a later day. Done. And it's also new. I haven't had potatoes consistently ever, I don't think, aside from having it for dinner most nights as a kid with some other veggies. As for the full fat beef, recently the supermarket has dropped its price of its 1 kilo beef mince to $12 a kilo. Meanwhile, the kangaroo I usually get has been raised to $8.50 a packet. I get 2 servings per kangaroo packet, and I get 4 servings per beef packet. So it's costing around $4.25 per kangaroo meal and about $3 per beef meal. Now, I know I mentioned earlier not to raise the money stat at the cost of aesthetics, but I am bulking, so I have the room for these calories, and it's still a red meat, so it's fine. This is only adding around 270 calories a day. I'll see how this changes my weight in the coming weeks, but most importantly, I've had kangaroo for about 9 months straight. Usually I swap between kangaroo and beef every 6 months, so I'm starting to get sick of the kangaroo. I am more keen for a beef meal. So essentially, the change is the result of price changes and a higher caloric budget. Ideally, you feel more calories with carbs, but the higher cholesterol can have its own anabolic properties. I doubt it's anything super substantial, but I feel I have more than enough carbs regardless, since I'm not a high-level athlete, so I don't need to spam carbs. My caloric intake now is hovering around 2,800-ish calories, and I'm hovering around 80 kilos at the time of writing. It might edge up higher with the added beef and potato calories, but as long as I don't suddenly hit 81 to 82 kilos in the coming months, I'll be fine, since I don't want to have another prolonged cut again. So that's an update for gym. In my 2023 plans video, I had a plan set out for gym, but since this current plan, is going really well, I won't fix something that isn't broken. As for the other parts of aesthetics, dental, well, nothing's really changed. Laser, still going, nothing's really changed there either. Botox, again, I'm still going, nothing's really changed there either. Although I think I've left it a little bit late because I'm really starting to get the forehead wrinkles kind of being quite visible whenever I scrunch my face. And normally, by the time that starts to happen, I have an appointment in like the next 2 weeks, but my next appointment's about 2 months away, so maybe we'll need to up the dosage or shorten the times between appointments. And then lastly, minoxidil. I think it might be working. I'm not sure. Haven't really noticed too much of a difference, but I guess that's a good thing in a way. Like at least my hairline isn't receding back further. Investor. So this will incorporate my stock trades and my real estate investment. So as for stock trading, it's going You win some, you lose some as always, but this market is irrationally moving higher despite all the negative factors in the economy. But that's fine, it's easier to make money in a bull market, so if the market continues to ignore the bad news, then it'll be easier to make money. Just go long on anything. I've also found some really good channels that give good trading info, as mentioned earlier in the video, so I listen to these and make some trades accordingly. I'm not fussed on this at the moment since my key focus is my other stats. Naturally, as other stats increase, the effort has to be pulled from elsewhere. So I'm most likely going to be using a tutor, which will require a lot of work, so that's a career stat increase. So instead of listening to stock channels, I will be listening to lectures and seminars. As for money, I have a newfound appreciation for my roles as this extra money pushes me above the average Aussie wage. So in a way, I'm like, I've got enough money coming in from work, so less need for stock market money. But obviously I still care about this. It's still one of my 5 main stats, but I just have less of a desire for it lately. I just mentioned how aesthetics, aka gym, is going super well. So the gym is taking some mental energy from the investor stat, and the brand, I've had a few videos lately that have gained me some subscribers. Normally I just get a few extra subs every several videos, but lately I've had consecutive videos getting me new subs. So again, that's more of my mental energy. Now when I say mental energy, it's not like I need to stop listening to as many investor channels / videos to focus on gym, appreciate my new income sources, focus on study when I get home, or focus on creating videos. But what this does mean is I just have lost some of the spark. Example, sometimes I will just not watch a certain investor video, or I'll click off the video early instead of watching it all the way through. That's what I mean. Essentially, you could say, well, since the rest of my stats are going well, or the rest of my stats are going to get more of a focus, like my career stat, with this whole tutoring thing, I am not too fussed about maximizing the investor stat, if that makes sense. It could also be due to the current market being so unpredictable, so I'm just backing off for now, until we get some clarity. As for options, I've gone nowhere with this. If you saw my plans for this year, one of my goals was to get into options trading. I haven't done this, since you need like 100 stocks in an options trade, which costs a lot, whereas before I could make trades with as little as $50. So this isn't money I'm willing to commit to at the moment. I could try paper trading with this, but I haven't gotten around to it. I may look at it, but at the moment I am so geared up to crush this upcoming semester of study, all of my spare time will be spent studying and making some videos. I don't want to take like a 3-month hiatus from the brand, so I will still upload stuff, but it might be like half as many videos as I normally get out in a semester. I reckon 1 every 2 weeks is a decent range to hit, but I'll also have some social events and whatnot, so we'll see how much I upload. And then you also have videos like this that take a lot longer to edit and whatnot too. As for my real estate, this is going kind of bad. So basically, the company that was developing the land went insolvent. Surprise, surprise. For those who don't know, construction companies here in Australia are going insolvent left, right and centre. So right now, instead of the land being developed, it's being untouched. And on top of that, the company that owned the land is also going under, or at least having a massive restructure, so they're selling this project to another company. So there is 2 major factors that are holding up this development. So I had a plan of having rental income by 2025. This is listed in an Excel document. It was going to be a video idea, but given this new tutoring thing and the failed subject, I doubt this will become a video since the plan's already been ruined. I may change it later in the year or next year and turn that into a video, but it's unlikely the original video idea will come out. So yeah, it looks like no house in 2024, meaning no rental income in 2025. It seems the land may not even be ready in 2025. But there are 2 saving graces. 1, the land is still in my name and the original $325,000 sale price is set in stone. The land is probably valued around $425,000 right now, and this will most certainly go up more in the coming years. So if I hadn't locked in this land, it would cost upwards of $500,000 by the time it's ready to build on. My prediction is that by the time the land is fully developed, it will be worth around $550,000. There are currently numerous factors that push up land / housing prices, including increased migration, lower supply due to construction companies going down, government/council policies, and my location in general. It's hard to explain without giving away my location, but in my area, it's not Melbourne, but the real estate in our area benefits from increases in Melbourne. So we get lower salaries because we aren't in Melbourne, but we get the higher real estate prices. Fun, but the cost of other stuff is usually lower. So anyway, although the house/rental income will come much later than originally planned, at least I still benefit from the equity appreciation in the land. And secondly, the longer the money can stay in my bank account and not be paid to the bank for this land, the longer I can receive interest income from the banks that basically pay for my groceries. So there's that. Brand. So lastly, but not least, or maybe least, I don't know, but it's my brand. So on the day of writing this script, I uploaded my hookup video the night prior, which gained me some new subs. So I missed my 600 subscriber anniversary. By the time I checked the channel, it had like 602 subs. But I had work at the office that day. No surprise, I was at work. But I wasn't keeping a close eye on my channel. So that's insane. We're moving on up. I've also uploaded quite a few videos so far in 2023, so that's great. I've managed to pump out brand content. I haven't been super consistent with the other socials, since a lot of this year was spent on making videos or studying, which I ended up failing anyway. But at least I know what to do now. Not sure what else I will get done in the coming months, but I have quite a few ideas for my next videos. However, these videos will take so much time, so I doubt they'll come out in the coming few months. The trades versus office jobs is something I've wanted to make for ages, but that'll take ages to gather all the data for this. The Short Kings video will take me ages to gather all my thoughts and all the related clips, but basically, there is so much fucking slander towards short guys, it's disgusting. So that would basically be a rant on it. It will contain a lot of retaliation to the idiot women who shame short guys, and I have so much to say on that topic, so yet another video that would take ages. The hidden suicide message in a Pokemon game is going to take way longer than the other two. I'd honestly be surprised if that video was less than 2 hours. Needless to say, these video ideas would take me a long time to make. The actual productive week, aka a new week in the life video, would also take a while. So we'll see about that one. Chances are I go through with that because I think it'd be cool to showcase how I'm moving tutoring around my usual week. But again, we will see. So I'll just keep potting away at the brand, but I'm not sure what I can get done in the coming months with the new CPA semester. I believe this tutoring will be full on. The gym is going so well I don't want to derail that. The new pay raise at the office will keep me pumped to get my new pay raise. And the supermarket, well, probably another raise too. So of course I'll be more than keen for that job as well. Although I guess it's not like any of those took away from the brand in the first place, it's just my CPA studies that will eat up more brand time. Mental health. So briefly, mine is good, wasn't always the way. Although I am on the grind, I enjoy every aspect of it. Slowly increasing my resume credit and getting closer to the CPA designation gives me purpose. Watching my pay only go up each year gives me purpose. Breaking through my old peak body gives me purpose. Watching my land appreciate in value and learning more and more about the stock market gives me purpose. Watching this brand grow gives me purpose. Yes, I do hang out with friends and whatnot, but I don't do it regularly since when you're caught up, what else do you do? You can't catch up with someone every week. There's not a lot they can change in a week, you know what I mean? Going out to eat gets expensive. It's nice, but it gets costly. I used to go bowling with some friends, but it's a little far from my place and it's also expensive. I don't drink, so I don't hang out at someone's house for a drink. I have friends in my local town who I can hang out with at their house, and we don't really drink. But when we do, we always stay super late, which causes me some sleep issues. The point is, I do hang out with friends sometimes, but it's not super often, nor do I want it to be super often. So that's a checkpoint on the game of life. For me, we're slowly progressing forward and leveling up all IRL stats. I've had some setbacks with some stats, but technically they're all still moving forward, and I've most definitely made improvements with the other 3 stats too. Trust the process, enjoy the journey, and the results will show up. How's your life going? Let me know in the comments. That is all.